Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and today I'm here to talk to you about expecting success. This is something that comes to mind for me a lot, but sometimes I think all of us need a little bit of a reminder, especially when things seem like they're going wrong. And maybe because we've heard bad news or been told by someone else to expect problems. And nowhere has this been more apparent to me than in terms of my life, when a neighbor came and told me one day, I'm getting my roof redone. And I said, oh really? Me too. And she said, my roofer told me expect leaks. And I couldn't believe that she said that, but made me laugh. It still makes me laugh a little bit today, because it reminds me a little bit of the ludicrousness of the situation. If you take your car in, for example, to a mechanic, you don't expect the mechanic to finish the job and then tell you expect engine failure. Or if you go in for a surgical operation, probably the last thing you'd expect to hear from your surgeon is expect organ failure after they've done their best. If they say these things, even if you hear these things, I'd like you to think today you can still expect success. In the case of the roofing job, it turned out fine, haven't had any leaks. And I also thought of this in light of a recent event I went to with the Institute of Noetic Sciences. At this event, Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon, and he was a member of the Apollo 14 program and mission to the moon. And when he was talking at this event, he's also the founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, he spoke to the entire audience about how amazed he was to be up there on the moon looking back at the Earth. To me, it was even more amazing that he made it in light of the fact of the very amazingly difficult problems that the astronauts on Apollo 13 had. So he was one of the astronauts that went up immediately following what was nearly a complete disaster in space, and he just had a very positive mindset about it. And furthermore, he's able to look back on his life and recognize that his grandfather had crossed the United States in a covered wagon, and within about 100 years or so, there he is walking on the moon. So it just goes to show great things are possible if we just keep staying positive and expecting success every chance we get. And I've got a couple of books to share with you today. There was another speaker at that event, at the IONS event that I went to, and his name is Brian Swim. And he and Edgar were actually both talking at this event about the importance of having a new story. And I want to say something about that before I get into the books, actually, because this new story, when you think of all of the things that are happening on Earth right now, the Earth changes, economic problems, global warming, all of these things, we sometimes can get to a place where we feel like there's too much going wrong. Overpopulation is too big a problem. What can we really do to stop global warming? Is it really going to be the end of things? And so forth. My philosophy, of course, is going to be that we suggest to ourselves, to each other, to everyone in the world, that we can start being more positive, that we can start expecting success, that we can ask, how good can this get? And we can take a look at each and every particular possible problem, keeping in mind, of course, that we can change not just the future, but I believe we also change the past. And I'll be exploring that a little bit further, hopefully in next month's YouTube video. So today I'd like to talk to you about a book that Brian Swim wrote that I absolutely adore. It's one of the top books in my library that I most often recommend to people. It's called The Universe is a Green Dragon. He's also written other books more recently, but this one is a book he wrote by himself. It's called A Cosmic Creation Story. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about this because I'd like you to have the discovery for yourself. It's not a typical book, so don't expect something that reads like any other book you've ever read. It's not. And I think that's all I'm going to say right now. Another book that I think is fabulous for exploring where we fit in the world and how we can get a new view of things is written by Edgar Mitchell. And he's the person I was just talking about who had this epiphany in space when he went up on Apollo 14. He came back a completely changed man, having realized really a samadhi kind of experience at oneness with the universe, and also realizing that is home that he's looking at, and that there's something that ties us all in, that connects all of us. He writes about that and so much more in The Way of the Explorer. Like I said, he started the Institute of Noetic Sciences, so he had an experiment that he conducted in space, which I'm also not going to tell you too much about, so I don't ruin that surprise either. So until next time, I hope you keep asking how good it can get, and I hope you keep expecting success. Thanks a lot.